What do you get when you combine a world-class sports performance psychologist with one of the most clear and determined football coaches? You get a team that wins Super Bowls and shakes up the way sports and business approach their discovery of personal philosophies and visions. And that's exactly what the Compete to Create framework looks like. In this video, I'm giving my review of the Audible original of Compete to Create, which is written by Michael Gervais and Pete Carroll. Compete to Create is a clear masterpiece of what Michael Gervais and Pete Carroll have been leading teams and working on together for years. And so in this video, I'm going to go through my review of the book, the audio book that you can get exclusively on Audible, and talk about some of the key pieces. But I definitely encourage you to check this book out for yourself. It's one of my clear favorites from the past several years. And if you're interested in sports psychology, mindfulness, or peak performance in any way, it's definitely going to be a valuable one for you too. And whether you're new around here or a regular, welcome back to the Find Your Flow channel. This is where we go after your dream goals and spend more time in that peak state of flow. And as I talked about, this is another book review video because books and knowing how to find the right mentors on your journey is a really key aspect to whatever it is you want to accomplish and whatever meaning that you're going after. And so just like you, I'm on the same journey alongside you. And this book has been a major game changer for me. So I just want to share some of my thoughts on it. And every minute of this over 6-hour audiobook production is worth its weight in gold. So we're just going to be scratching the surface of what's inside Compete to Create. But I hope that you do find this helpful and that it lets you maybe decide better for yourself whether you're going to check out the full book or not. So this book is broken down into several different parts that complete the Compete to Create framework. And it starts with the understanding of why change has to start within you. It then goes into building a psychological framework and the aspects of mindfulness for world-class performance. And finally, how to compete to perform your best, as well as the key components of recovery for peak performance. And so what Dr. Mike and Pete Carroll have developed is deeply rooted in their own personal philosophies. And that's really where it all starts with you as well, in terms of the Compete to Create framework and finding what your personal philosophy is. It's going to help you to get clarity on whatever your visions are for the future and whether they align with what is deeply at the core of who you are. And this is one of the most important aspects and how you develop from the ground up with this Compete to Create framework. And once you have your personal philosophy in place, you are able to visualize your future and transform that into a vision, whether it's for yourself or for the team that you lead. And visualization, or imagery as Dr. Mike prefers to call it, is a really key aspect to peak performance. And so if you want to learn more about how you can do a visualization practice, check out this video here where I talk more about my preferred techniques for visualization. So then the psychological framework continues with developing some of the mindset aspects that we are able to change in ourselves through developing optimism. Practices like gratitude are really important for that. And also starting to understand the difference between what's in our control and what's not in our control, and really dialing in and focusing more on the aspects of our lives that are in our own personal control, because often that's going to lead to more of this positive psychological framework for ourselves. And there really are only 4 things that are in our control, and those include our thoughts, our attitudes, our actions, and our efforts. And the more that we focus on those things, the more that we are living more in this peak performance lifestyle where we're able to get the best out of ourselves. And then finally, there's grit as part of this psychological framework. And grit is the strongest predictor of success. So learning how to develop grit in yourself is really important so that you can get more into that mode of understanding that it takes perseverance. And through perseverance, you can start to develop this passion for whatever you are seeking after, because it's really a long journey regardless of what you are looking for in terms of finding your flow and developing more mastery. So grit is really, really important there. And there's different sub-levels of grit that we can work on in order to perform our best. And then we've got mindfulness, and finding ourselves in more mindful states is really an important aspect of peak performance. This is deeply rooted in Dr. Mike's philosophy on peak performance. And so there's a very extensive part of the book that is dedicated to how we can work on our mindfulness and develop more of it. And the essence of mindfulness, as Dr. Mike says, is really about being where your feet are at. So being present and deeply embodied in that present moment is what's at the root of mindfulness. And this is very important for being able to get into that flow state of peak performance. We need to be mindful and present. We can't be distracted with past thoughts or too future focused in order to get into that flow state. And this is something that goes all the way back to the samurai. They believed in the importance of flow for developing sight and insight into discovering more of themselves. And the samurai had a philosophy around insight leading to self-discovery, which is why I believe that flow really equals meaning, and that through flow we find that deepest meaning for ourselves. And to get into flow more regularly, to become more mindful, requires that we train those skills that will get us there. And the two important skills that are talked about in Compete to Create are training calm and training confidence. Through training calm, we're able to balance our level of arousal, because each activity that we do has a certain point of arousal that is optimal. When we get too far past that point, it becomes difficult to stay focused and stay present. And when we get too low on the arousal scale, we're also not performing our best. And this looks very similar to the flow channel, where flow is found perfectly between that area where skill and challenge meet. And the flow channel is represented by the lower limit being boredom and the upper limit being anxiety. So we have to stay in this perfectly balanced flow channel in order to find our flow most efficiently. And training confidence comes from self-talk and positive self-talk, but it has to be credible. We can't fake it till we make it with our self-talk. We have to do things that are rooted in credibility in order to properly develop confidence and not psych ourselves out. And so that takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time to reflect on what you are skilled at, what is credible to you, and developing that self-talk, because through the positive mind is how we get into no mind, or the state of flow, more regularly. So we got to get rid of the negative self-talk, work on the positive self-talk, and that's going to lead into more flow and peak performance. And then you can't leave off a discussion of performing your best without talking about the importance of recovery as it relates to performance. And so the final part of the book is all about the core pillars of recovery. And Dr. Mike breaks this down into 4 key aspects, which are sleep, nutrition, exercise, and controlling our thoughts. These 4 things are what the Compete to Create framework uses for their aspect of the pillar of recovery as it relates to performance. And of course, there's so much we could go into on just those 4 components of recovery alone, but I'll leave it up to you to check out the book for yourself if you are interested. If you've got any interest at all in mindfulness or performing your best or sports psychology, it really is a fantastic piece of work to check out for yourself. And so I hope you like this review, and thank you for watching. And as always, until next time, dream on and find your flow.